Willis and classmates. My name is Matthew Bishop, and today I will be going over our week 8, kind of running through our action research projects, and hope everybody's feeling good and confident with theirs. It's been great working with everybody over these semesters and over our whole program. We've had a lot of each other in the same class, and I wish you guys the best of luck in the field. So, as you can see, my title is Can Alternative Disciplinary Techniques and Positive Behavior Incentives Improve Behavior in ADHD Students? And I started this really coming off of my student teaching. I came in hot as student taught, and then my mentor teacher was the vice principal, took over her class. It's really successful. I work with at-risk kids, and anyways, when I got switched over to dual immersion Spanish for 6th and 7th graders, it was very, very challenging. I immediately got thrown in, didn't have much support. I was at a content area, and so what I noticed is that ADHD, as we all know, it almost seems like every kid has it these days with their mobiles and this and that. But for the ones that generally have been diagnosed, I'm one of those students myself, it came to be something I wanted to study. And Dr. Willis had mentioned to me as well that, like, hey, with your action research project, like, when you're stuck, do something that you want to study, that may motivate you, that it's be easier to do something that you really want to have, that you've seen to accomplish, that you're emotional about, that you care about, and it'll be easier to dig into the research that way. And she was right about that. It did take me a while to get into my question. So the problem, here's my abstract, but going over kind of our rubric is like the problem of the research is like punishment in traditional disciplinary action is not always the best way for students who are challenged with ADHD. Sending someone to the office, run them up, calling their parents immediately for behaviors that are really just like, especially middle school. My focus was middle school kids, right? So especially middle school where, they will just, it's where kids are finding out how to be adults for the first time in their life, right? Young adults at that, but, they're testing the waters of like, who am I going to be? Like, this is how I am. And they don't, some kids do know, some don't, but it's such a challenging age. And just running a kid up for interrupting the class or getting up every 5 seconds. I mean, I had some of the students who literally would stand up like every 3 seconds, be like, Mr. D, and you'd be like, dude, Tommy, sit down. Like, Jane, just stay still. Stop getting out of your seat for the love of Christmas type of thing. And, so really I wanted to find these alternative measures of punishment and give behavioral incentives for, staying accountable and not being... Kids can lose so much by just being in trouble all the time. I know this from my own experience of constantly being in trouble where they can give up or start to think maybe they are bad, or know that, this is something that's natural that I'm doing, and why am I always in trouble? I didn't really do anything bad. I didn't punch anybody or this or that. So I felt, especially for ADHD students, that we needed to maybe find alternative measures to, techniques outside of the traditional punishments. And so I'm kind of moving, stuck in one position. I'll keep going for the time. There are many alternatives to standard school discipline and medication, is that's where everybody wants to go, is just medicate a kid, which, it shows success and sometimes it doesn't. We can't medicate as teachers. So, but I just want to give as many options to alternatives that we've seen that are common in our society and in schooling with ADHD. The research has, we use a lot of peer-reviewed studies, or I did, to seek in assisting students with ADHD by giving educated information that can help answer the question of whether routine punishment for behavioral problems is like the only way, which I think we all know that there isn't. PBIS and SLE strategies can really, really help the challenges of ADHD behavioral issues in schooling, right? So my question, it took a long time to narrow my question, to be honest with you. I went over and over. It's just the way that, speaking on ADHD, the way that my brain works, and just the importance of the study, that it was really hard to narrow my question. There's the origin of the question. But how can alternative disciplinary techniques and positive behavior incentives improve behavior of students with ADHD? That was really important. As I went to my literature review, I wanted to make sure that understanding the impact of ADHD in schooling and wanting to show the reader that my main theme of the literature review was citing the work of others have done to show the challenges of ADHD, show that really, really register how much ADHD is a challenge for so many students, and that yes, it would be hard and there's only so many natural things they do, that's why we need to come up with different behavioral incentives and positive behavioral incentives instead of just running a kid out of your class and yelling at him and making him an example. That we needed to come up with different ways, and that I'm hoping that my research will fill a need, and that people that have better experience and knowledge than mine can pick up the ball and run with it, right? Because most of the common they're common misbehaviors, not only of the common ADHD student, but also middle school kids in general. And how do we discipline a child without making them lose confidence, lose trust in the system, to start over, act in trouble, and then start to get negative, get to think being bad and in trouble is a positive way. I wanted to get people out of those kind of behaviors as well. And then, my methodology was mixed. It was definitely qualitative heavy, but I wanted to mix it in just so I could get the balance and could give a gray area where reading between the lines was possible. But it really is qualitative leading, and the quantitative of this research was in hopes mostly just to balance out what the bases could be covered. And there's my lit review. Like I said, I kind of went over that. Started catching up with my own fast speaking. But yeah, the read-through sign, I wanted to do mixed methods, as you can see there. And then going off of that, just the reflecting on the biggest takeaway that I got from doing this action research project, my insights and biggest takeaway was show me action research could really help future research and help improve areas of challenge that we see in our own practice and in ourselves and some of our own weaknesses. That future colleagues, educators, students, and the parents or guardians of students can use the action research that we have done to move forward with things. And I did notice one of my biggest takeaways too is action research really does help us as educators, because we can target our areas of weakness, reflect and grow from them. We can take the challenges we have as professionals and see how they can be improved. And having the ability to learn from our mistakes or our experiences and successes in powerful and reflective ways is always good. And that it is important because it gives us the ability to analyze results and how they can be addressed. And then any successes that we do have from our research can then be improved and inform experimentation and experience. Greater people than us, there's always somebody better, right? That can come along, or maybe even our own colleagues be like, I like what you did there, and show us things we didn't see within our own research and really make a difference in what we were trying to do. And it's important because it gives us the ability to analyze results and how they can be addressed, and then any successes can then improve and inform, and learning we can stimulate our own practice and improvements into the next stage, right? This is all very powerful, and action research can really improve our ability to put our reflective analysis of ourselves into practice. And most importantly, as the reason I got in the game is being part of something bigger than myself, but to help children, right? There's nothing more important than helping kids and students in and out of the classroom. And action research can really, at the end of the day, not only improve ourselves, but what we're doing is trying to help these kids, and it'll help the kids. So positive results, should most importantly improve us, but mostly impact the students. Thank you for your time. I'm sorry if I ran over a little bit. I appreciate it, and it was great working with everybody. And I hope that my research will be built up upon and hopefully have a positive impact down the road somewhere when I try and revisit it and build on it. Thanks again. Great working with everybody. Juan.